Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And it's Thursday today, and I'm back with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Yay. Hey,
All right.
great. Yeah, fine.
All right. Well, lots of exciting stuff in the EV space today. The first one is people bitching about how expensive burgers are at the new Tesla burger joint. So we'll start with that.
Haven't they gone to a McDonald's lately?
Yeah, well, I was thinking that too. And then to top it all off, the things in Los Angeles. I mean, I remember even 6-7 years ago going to get a salad and I was paying $20. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, why is everything so expensive here? And it's like, but the article actually was like attacking how expensive and how poor the service was. And I think what it is, it's kind of like when that Mr. Beast guy opened up a burger joint and there was like 10,000 people lined up to eat. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the complaint here too, is
Yeah,
that it was just
long
mobbed
lines.
with people. Yeah,
Yeah.
everybody wanted to go eat at the Tesla restaurant. And but the Tesla Eats fast food joint makes debut next to a supercharger lot in LA. See, I don't think they plan on just having Tesla Eats just be anywhere. It's only going to be at supercharger locations. And I think the main idea is to put them on interstates. Okay.
Oh, sure. It would
And
make sense.
yeah. And I don't think the idea is so much for it to be like a Los Angeles thing. It just easy, but they serve a Tesla burger. You can add electric sauce, epic bacon, and let me see here.
And there's a robot
pay
that
as much as
delivers something, isn't there?
Oh, there probably is.
Yeah.
It's pay as much as $24.50 for a single burger with add-ons like $4 Wagyu beef chili. And let's see, it says $24.50. Oh, that's after you add the add-ons. It's a $13.50 burger.
Okay.
And that
And
cup
by the
of
time
chili.
you add ketchup and everything, is that it?
Yeah, maybe. Let me see. A side of fries is $4. A charged soda. It's a non-alcoholic specialty pop. Can cost anywhere from $7 to $10, depending on the flavor. This must be near Disneyland. These sound like Disney prices.
Yeah,
almost.
It does.
You could get a regular soda for $4 with a souvenir cup for an additional $3. There's all kinds of Tesla themed products there. They sell hoodies that run at $95. A pack of supercharged gummies with no THC in them are $35.
Where are the hoodies made? Say, hey, if anybody's got a hoodie, let me know where the hoodie is made.
Yeah,
Is it U.S. made, or is it made in Thailand or somewhere?
Oh, that'd be interesting to know.
Yeah.
There's an action figure modeled after the Tesla remote-controlled Optimus robot.
Oh, great!
Thank
God it's not Elon.
then they're trying to compare it to In-N-Out. So Bill did a search to see what In-N-Out burgers have charging stations. So Bill, what In-N-Outs had charging stations?
Oh, well, now you're going to make me look it up. Let's see. Well, anyway, there's about, where'd I put it now?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't have it up right now. But
that's all right.
There's about 4 of them in the Southern California area that have and their Charge Point, EVgo, and another company I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, but obviously they're not NACS. Okay, so
probably not. No.
Yeah, we're just going to assume they're not. I think you can only get NACS through Tesla. Other companies can use the Tesla network, but I don't think Tesla licenses other people to do NACS chargers.
Probably not. Probably not.
Yeah. Anyways,
you have to buy the adapter.
Yeah, but most of the complaints were there were super long lines and chaotic scenes inside the restaurant. And I just, like I was saying, I'm sure it was super, super busy. Oh, and I've got a screenshot of the menu, but I can't even zoom enough on it really to make it where I can even read it. So it doesn't really matter. But anyways, I just thought it was funny. People complaining about how expensive it was when, I guess they're assuming people have never gone out to eat in Los Angeles before, and because it's expensive. It's not certainly a cheap thing. All right. Well, I had a kind of a favorite article I wanted to cover. So alchemy's always been a thing that
I knew you were
people have
going to go
dreamed of.
there. I knew it.
Oh yeah, this one's good. Okay, and the idea of turning something into gold, right? But what was it
Yep.
they used to always try to? Was it they wanted to turn lead into gold, right?
Well, yeah, they want to
Well,
turn lead into gold. Yes, yes.
well, now somebody thinks they figured out
Close.
how to turn mercury into gold. Now,
Well,
mercury clearly isn't as expensive as gold is, right? But I don't know how common mercury is, but a nuclear fusion company says one of the products of nuclear fusion with no use of the electricity can take was it a neutron, I think, from mercury and convert it to gold as part of the process of making fusion energy. Now, this hasn't truly been proven yet, so it's just
okay.
another one of those things, but this fusion,
Theoretically, huh?
yeah, San Francisco-based Marathon Fusion says the same process that could represent a limitless source of clean energy could also be used for literal alchemy. And it's in a yet to be peer-reviewed paper, but they said nuclear transmutation could effectively change an element or isotope into a different one by ripping out protons from its nucleus. It could be used to synthesize gold particles.
Huh.
Everybody seems intrigued and excited by this. It's interesting. Marathon Fusion has raised $6 million in investments and $4 million in government grants, focusing its efforts on making fusion power systems more efficient. That's not a very big number in nuclear.
That's not a big
No,
number.
that's not a that's I don't want to brag, but that's a
In the
really
scheme of
small
things, yeah.
number. Yeah. Um, I don't know where to think about that. I mean, that just means they have PhDs on staff that are theoretically trying to figure stuff out.
Right.
But anyways, this is just really interesting. So they're proposing to introduce a mercury isotope, mercury 198, into a fusion reactor to turn it into mercury 197. That's in addition to the conventional fuels used to realize fusion inside a reactor, such as lithium and hydrogen isotopes. But the side effect is mercury 197 is an unstable isotope that eventually decays into gold 197.
Oh my God. Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's probably radioactive to the nth degree, but yeah, why not have radioactive gold? No, I'm just kidding about that last part. I doubt that it is.
Yeah, that's not my specialty. Although I do know that there is a lake up outside of San Francisco that is toxic with mercury. So that would be a tremendous source
yeah,
of the mercury,
yeah.
and maybe it would clean up the lake. Who knows?
Yeah. So one of the interesting things that we haven't ever talked about is the byproducts of fission, which is what we use now in nuclear, is fission. Okay, where we're splitting the atom. Fusion is recombining the atom. But one of the byproducts of fission can be used as fuel for fusion, and fusion can do the same in reverse. So the two technologies are actually complementary down the road. Okay. But they do raise this. So what I was saying, I thought, I'm not sure about the radioactivity. Said it will make it radioactive gold. But the CEO of this company, Marathon, says they could produce 11,000 pounds of gold a year per gigawatt of electricity generation wow. So per gigawatt of generation, they could provide 11,000 pounds of gold. That's nuts. That is
I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah. But I don't know where you're going to get that much mercury. I mean, that's a lot of mercury to do 11,000.
Well, like I said, there is a source. They started mining this source of mercury in like the 1870s, and
Hmm.
it was active until I think the 1950s. But there is so much, so much runoff and tailings and things from that mining operation that there's a lake up there that is, you don't want to fish in that thing. The whole lake is contaminated with the mercury and other substances, because normally I forget what the actual chemical is that makes the rock that you extract it from, and probably there's
Hmm.
other things in it, along with with what we call mercury. So, but yeah, there's a ready source of that stuff right up there in Northern California, up near, I think it's up near the Bay Area.
Okay, so the process would make the gold radioactive, okay, but it would need to be stored for 14 to 18 years before it's safe to handle.
Oh, that's not. I thought you were going to say 14 to 18,000 years. So
1,000
no,
years,
yeah,
yeah,
14. About 20 years.
yeah,
Okay.
that's not the end of the world. No, not by any stretch.
Well, not yet.
Um, that's like waiting on your wine to age. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Or good
but
cheese.
Yeah, but this is kind of a crazy idea for return. One of the things when I've talked about high temperature gas reactors that my group's working on, um, you have this extra heat. So the fourth generation reactors run hotter than traditional reactors. They still can't melt down, but this heat, this thermal energy is basically a free byproduct, and it's a non-radioactive heat, but you could use it to power manufacturing, do water distillation, desalinization.
What is that? There's a generator system that basically would use heat like that to supplement and generate electricity. So that might be what is that called now?
Well, you can
don't
also
recall the
use
name.
that heat to create hydrogen.
Well,
So
yeah,
this
it
is one of the
depends
reasons why you
on
see occasionally
what
people trying
temperature
to
are we
use
talking
nuclear to
about.
create hydrogen.
What temperatures are we talking about?
900 to 1600
Fahrenheit or centigrade?
Celsius.
Celsius?
Yeah, I mean they run very hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for every 2 megawatts of electricity, it produces about a megawatt of thermal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better try to get some use out. Of course, if you have that kind of heat, you can do air conditioning as well as industrial processes.
Yeah, well, we've been talking as an answer for manufacturing, because there's a lot of manufacturing processes that require the heat. Besides, the obvious thing, desalinization is a big thing wherever you have
Right.
islands, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, I just found this whole thing with fusion. I still don't believe that fusion's right around the corner. It's they're still using more electricity to generate the fusion reaction than they are to
Yep.
actually they're getting out of it.
And
So
the, and
it's
the
a net
length of time
loss.
they can, yeah, the length of time that I think I just saw something where there's a group that just ran for 5 minutes now. I think
Five
something
minutes.
like, yeah, I think it was running for about 5 minutes, which is a record, I guess,
Yeah, that's
for
better than
for
a
that.
few seconds, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's certainly a big jump, but I don't know. I found that just really
A
interesting
little, a
piece.
little, a little, a little Harry Potter while we're at it.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
Yeah,
it's magic.
it's magic, magic.
Yeah. Now, speaking of magic, NIO has now produced 800,000
1,000
electric vehicles.
cars. Yes.
Now, before I did the show with you, Bill, I've traded NIO on the stock market a lot.
Okay.
Okay. So NIO is obviously a Chinese company, but they're traded on the New York Stock Exchange. And they're real popular for people to trade options because of the volatility of the stock.
Right.
And it's somewhat a predictable stock.
What's
So
your symbol? NIO?
NIO. Yeah.
NIO. Okay.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So for particular, some people trading wheel strategy and different things in options, NIO is kind of a popular stock, as are a lot of the cryptos, like Marathon and Riot and some of those.
Right.
Those are all popular for trading that because of the volatility and, there's some cyclicalness that's somewhat predictable. But here's a company that most Americans aren't familiar with, right? NIO. It's not, I mean, most Americans haven't heard of BYD either, but it's just hard to fathom. They've produced 800,000 electric vehicles.
And they think they'll get 1 million here in the not too distant future or something like that.
Yeah, early 26,
right.
They should hit it. And now NIO is kind of unique in that their charging strategy, I don't know if this is all NIOs, but most of the stuff we talk about is they're the battery swap people. And they have, was it 3,000?
Yeah, they got a lot of charging stations around.
Yeah.
I cited the number, a few programs back. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is.
Well, no, we talked about it a few months ago. Let me see. They have a high-end large SUV that is about $39,000. Oh, and they sell it with the battery as a service option for $27,000. Okay. So in the battery as a service, you pay a monthly fee for the right to keep going and swapping batteries. So instead of going and I'm assuming you can still charge these at home on level 2. Okay. I'm just assuming.
Imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd imagine you can level 2 charge them at home, but when you need to go out, instead of going and sitting at a public charger, you go to a place and it's kind of like a car wash, and you just pull through and it swaps your battery out. It takes a couple of minutes.
It's just like a couple of minutes to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got a fully charged battery. Now the advantage of this for, the grid is that, once again, when we talk about V2G tech, there's a massive amount of energy storage there that can take energy from the grid when it's cheap and load it into these batteries and put it in these cars. Okay. So it creates a lot of just stability for the grid. And of course, in a V2G situation, they could sell that power back to the grid when it's needed, as they have their batteries swapped out.
Well, according to Pi AI, you can charge at home. The car comes with a level 1 charger, and you can charge it at level 2. Go to a charger that is rated at that, which would be like a commercial establishment or something. Or you can just go to the battery swaps. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. All right. So I found somebody sent me a hit piece on the nuclear industry in Europe. So Europe, all of a sudden, just like the United States, is putting a lot of talk into nuclear. Yeah. And so in Europe, the big country is France. So France, 90% of their power comes from nuclear, and they export energy into surrounding countries, Germany being a big one.
Thank you.
And so Paul, I really like the idea. I think there's certain really good applications. I don't know. I think that charging technology for cars is getting to be at a stage where the battery swap won't make a difference, because we're starting to get to chargers that can dispense a megawatt.
Right.
And so we're starting to get to some really large ones. But in semi trucks, boats, EV tolls, there's a lot of other applications where I think that battery swap makes way more sense, because those batteries are just enormous. So when you've got or even like a Hummer. I mean, oh, by the way, Bill, I've coined a new, in English, or in the US, we have our own weights and measures, right? We fought the British so we could have the rights to our own weights and measures, right? So that's why we measure things in football fields.
Don't we still use the same weights and measures?
Well, sort of. That's why we measure things in football fields and washing machines. So I've come up with a new unit of electricity called the Hummer. That's represents 200 kilowatt hours. So the Hummer is an expression of 200 kilowatt hours. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I felt we needed an expression for that. So, I come up with a lot of useful things for people. We've got Tuber and the Hummer.
Right. And we got Luber.
And Luber. I forgot about Luber.
Yeah, Luber.
That's the new thing too.
Yeah, Lucid.
Yeah, the Lucid robo-taxi.
Autonomous robo-taxi.
Yeah. Anyways, Tuber kind of, since they're using a car that looks like a potato to start with, it really just makes a lot of sense.
Does fit, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, this hit piece on going back to the talk about nuclear. This article starts out talking about UK's Sizewell facility. The projected cost of building this nuclear power plant has gone from 20 billion pounds in 2020 to now it's 38 billion. So it's almost doubled.
Nearly doubled. Wow.
Yeah. Now this is grid scale reactors. I don't know if I'm going to assume it's generation 3. I don't think it's generation 2. Most of the 440 nuclear reactors in the world that are operating as commercial plants, at least 90% of them are generation 2. Okay, so there's not really a whole lot of Gen 3, and there's only one Gen 4. So it's really a big difference. But they're trying to show this as where nuclear just can't work. But obviously, that's using the UK as an example. In France, it works. Now, the article kind of goes on to say that in the countries that have actually made nuclear work, which is essentially the United States, China, Russia, and France, and have done fairly well with it, they all have nuclear militaries. Okay, so they're all nuclear powers. And so what happens is you have all these people going into the civilian space that have experience with
running submarines,
nuclear propulsion, nuclear weapons. They've done different things where they have experience in the field.
Curious though that the Russians never put it in that aircraft carrier, which apparently sank or did something here recently. So
no, the dry dock has problems now too. I don't know. The Kutsanov.
Kutsanov.
I don't know. The Russian Navy, it just seems cursed. You go back to the
the Russo-Japanese War.
Yeah. What do they call it? The cursed fleet. I don't know. What was it? They had a battle with a fishing boat in the North Sea because they thought it was the Japanese attacking them off the coast of England, and they were actually attacking British fishing boats. I don't know. Yeah, the Russians don't have a great naval tradition. We'll just leave it at that. But but they've done nuclear subs. They've done nuclear cruisers too. So they have nuclear icebreakers. So it is kind of surprising they never did a nuclear propulsion in an aircraft carrier.
Yeah. Well, apparently that's a pretty tough technology to master. I mean, the Chinese have gotten what? They've tried a couple, I think, and then I don't think they've been all that successful. I don't think
they've gotten very far with it.
Yeah.
But China has lots of nuclear weapons.
Well,
as does Russia. And Russia actually created the first functional small modular reactors. So they're all on this boat that's up in the Arctic Circle. It powers a mining community. It's got about 300 megawatts on this boat that powers a small town and all the mining operations. I don't know what it mines, or what they're mining, but in theory, this nuclear power plant could go sail somewhere else and power something else.
Right.
I've seen other discussions about having nuclear on boats or barges here in the U.S. and sending it to places that need power. Although I'm not as certain what the real value in that is, because a lot of these reactors, like I'm talking about, they can be carried on a tractor trailer. So I don't know why you really need a boat if you can just go
Yeah.
put them in with a tractor trailer. So
And in some cases, wouldn't it be just cheaper to take an oil tanker over there and, periodically, just run the local generators, which they already have, or oil burners or whatever they're using to generate steam. I don't know if you'd want it. Yeah.
well, that's
Anyway,
that's the thing. They're trying to convert it. So
yeah.
in the economies of scale, and this is one of the things I talk about a lot of times with clean energy, it's got to make it's really hard to get people to really step up if it means they're going to pay more. But in the
Yeah.
case of the SMRs, in relation to islands that run diesel and bunker fuel, almost all those islands pay anywhere from 30 cents to anywhere like 75, 90 cents per kilowatt
Oh,
hour
yeah.
for
Yeah.
electricity. And when somebody comes in with nuclear and is delivering it, say, in the teens, and they're cutting that price in half, and then they have base load power. They don't have to worry about it if the ship showed up. And
Right.
then they're also getting rid of the carbon emissions and the air pollution and all that.
Right. Right.
So it's a pretty significant change for them. But anyways, at the moment it's all still theoretical because it hasn't been done on these islands yet. But you'll start seeing it in the next 5 years. That's for sure. Anyways, but I thought it was interesting seeing. Still, there's a lot of people, but they're trying to cite things that happened like with Fukushima and stuff like that. But they're all still talking about Generation 2 reactors that, as far as I know, aren't being built anymore. And that kind of segues though into my next story. And this is about, and you probably, I sent you this one. Japan leaps into the 22nd century. Solar panels packing the punch of 20 nuclear reactors. Now, I thought this was a little deceptive because I was trying to figure out, well, is there a new solar technology coming here? And apparently, I don't know that Japan really has any new technology here. They're simply installing 20 gigawatts of solar. And
Yeah, I just watched a video on bifacial solar, which is really interesting. When we think of solar, generally we call this a solar panel, right? And you have to
Mhm.
for best results, you tilt it at whatever your latitude is. So around here,
Mhm.
you and I, to get the best results, we would put it at 40 degrees.
Mhm.
But it turns out that actually with bifacial solars, which is able to be, generate power from either side of the panel, that
Okay.
they found out that they mount them vertically,
Mhm.
they actually get more power out of them.
Oh,
So
that's
you
pretty
don't,
cool.
yeah. So you have what looks like long rows of, how you line up vineyards,
Yeah.
right? You just
Mhm.
do the same thing with the solar panels and you set them this way, which is really
Oh,
fascinating. So maybe that could be what they're talking about, bifacial.
that's a possibility. It didn't get into that space. One of the things for Japan that's a challenge for solar is limited available space. So they're
Yes.
investing in some kind of next generation solar cell, and it'll be perovskite cells, which apparently have much higher efficiency than
Yeah.
traditional
Right.
silicon-based cells.
Yeah.
Um,
I
Let
don't
me
know how to
see.
pronounce it, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're bendy panels, so apparently they bend. Um, Let me
Yeah,
see.
they're put on a flexible substrate of some type.
Yeah,
Instead of what we do right now is we basically mount them. We mount glass over the top of them. So if you're thinking of a typical solar panel, you'll have the layer of the actual silicon, and we cover that with glass. And then underneath, we've traditionally put the aluminum backing on the back to give it strength. Except in the case of these bifacial, now we're actually putting it on both sides of the panel. So what they have there, that could be what they're doing is doing a bifacial of some type, using
well,
perovskite or however you
yeah,
pronounce it.
Yeah, the perovskite tandem cell has a theoretical efficiency of 43% versus the 29 for traditional
Yeah.
silicon based.
And that's come a long ways, because when I started fooling around with this whole, area, we thought we were good. I think it was at 10%, and that the really good stuff was at 20%. And now we're
Mhm.
looking at 40%. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I've had people try to claim that there's some other technologies that are much higher than that, and that maybe the government's suppressing it and all this. And it's like,
Of course.
you just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just never really know what's going on.
Well,
But
I'll believe it when I see we've got zero gravity machines.
well, okay, so this is interesting, Clean. Um, I'm curious what the perovskite, panel life might be compared to the silicon. That might be something to do a little checking on, Bill, because that would be worth knowing. But yeah, the thing was, we were reporting last week that there's a gigawatt of solar capacity installed worldwide every 15 hours. That is a huge amount of power generation going on worldwide. And it's crazy to think that so much is being installed. I mean, most of that's going on in India and China. I mean, of course, the two countries are, what, a third of the world's population by themselves, or more than that. The problem with durability with the perovskite. Yeah.
I'm trying to look it up here. Can't type with a.
Well, that's all right.
Solar cells. Okay. I probably didn't spell perovskite right either, but they'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Pakistan installed 22 gigawatts in the last 2 years. Yeah, Pakistan's been a major player in that space too. Yeah, they're coming along.
Basically competitive with traditional silicon, it says. 20 to 25-year operational life.
Well, maybe it has to do with the early stage ones maybe weren't. And maybe it's changed in that regard. Who knows? It's one of the things with a lot of these products too, is sometimes a lot of the stuff is theoretical, and it's like people always say, well, how do you know an EV is going to last 20 years when there aren't any 20-year-old EVs on the road? But there's certainly been car EVs that have had the batteries ran far more than what somebody normally would drive in 20 years, right? So when we already have Teslas that are out there that are well beyond 1 million miles, even though Tesla hasn't even existed that long, right? So they've only had cars for 12 years, so.
Well, we're going to know here fairly. I guess theoretically, though, there have been, if anybody still has some of the old original Toyota RAV4 EVs.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, of course, that I know of currently has a GM EV1, although I think there's some, hidden somewhere, maybe a handful of them. But the RAV4s, there may be some of those still running around, although that's nickel metal hydride batteries and they have a limited life. So
wow, when was that? When did they have NIMH batteries in EVs?
Oh, back in 2000 timeframe in there.
Oh wow, I didn't realize.
Oh yeah,
that the
RAV4.
yeah,
RAV4 nickel metal hydrides.
Wow, I bet that'd be an expensive battery to replace.
Well, hey, now bear in mind that that's what they use in the Toyota Prius.
Okay.
Okay, so okay. If I messed that up, somebody feel free to correct me, because again, I'm using an old man's memory here, but seems to me that some of those the RAV4s did have nickel metal hydride in them. Let me ask.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't realize it. The thing is, Bill has seen things.
I've been around the block a few times.
Yeah, no, it's amazing what's going on with battery tech. When somebody like Cattle says they've got a 1 million kilometer they're willing to warranty 1,000,000 kilometers on a battery. That's pretty impressive because we know that they're, not fooling around. So that's, one of the things I like to see. Although we do get complaints because I'm praising cattle, which is, funded by the Chinese
CCP,
government
yeah,
and all that.
yeah.
But still, in our space, in the EV space, it's still good for the space, even if I don't agree with what China's economics and things like that.
Where'd my query disappear to?
Yeah, we actually reported on a couple of companies that are using old EV batteries, in Nevada. This was, I guess we talked about a week or two ago, but yeah,
Yeah,
their big challenge is actually finding used EV batteries.
yeah, because they're
And
lasting a lot longer than we thought they would.
yeah, it's so funny that people in that space, and what's even worse is people who decided they were going to recycle batteries, not knowing that people weren't really going to recycle batteries anytime soon. So, yeah, that's been kind of a surprise because everybody thought that was going to be a thing, was recycling EV batteries. And it's like, well, there's just a very limited demand or supply of batteries because they're lasting longer and they're being repurposed. Okay.
I'm still looking here, so go ahead. My browser
Yeah.
froze up on me.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, basically the third play for the batteries is recycling them, but that's hopefully 30 years, 40 years down the road, right? So hopefully people are getting a lot of use out of them. Okay. So the UN chief, Antonio Guterres, says the sun is rising on clean energy age as 90% of renewable power projects cheaper than fossil fuels. This is kind of an interesting thing of where things are going because, Bill knows I'm in the nuclear space, and in the nuclear space, we are not trying to compete with solar and wind. I will tell you, that's a losing game. We are trying to compete with diesel and bunker fuel. We're looking for remote communities, things like that. It's not that you can't produce cheap, competitive energy with nuclear. The problem is you have to be on such a large scale, running still in the gigawatt space to be able to compete. We actually had a nuclear power plant here in Omaha near Omaha, I should say.
Yeah.
And it shut down because it wasn't price competitive against wind. And it just, didn't make sense.
Dadgum Warren Buffett had his company build a bunch of wind turbines on the other side of the river from us. And what are you going to do? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and then all the ones down in Kansas, and
mm-hmm.
We've got some out west of Omaha here, out in the Sandhills.
Yep. Yeah. They're ugly, but they do make cheaper energy.
I think it's a case of it's in the eye of the beholder. I mean, I like them. I think they're what, kinetic art, right?
Yeah, but
that's kind of the way I look at them.
I'm not saying that I hate them. I think it's cool because I like seeing clean energy doing stuff. On the flip side, a lot of people just don't like looking at them. And a lot of people don't think, though, like we do, about the perspective of, it means it's good for the environment, whatever. And yeah, I don't know. I think people would rather burn coal and not have to look at that because they're not going to burn coal in their neighborhood.
Well, they don't live it. They haven't lived in West Virginia. I
have.
There you go. I know what that coal does back in my ministerial days, I actually had to have funerals for some of the guys that lost their lives in either Rock Falls or from black lung. So hey, just to catch up here real quick, to go back to the RAV4. Yes, they did have nickel metal hydride. They had 27.4 kilowatt hours of nickel metal hydride batteries that gave the car a range of 120 miles on a single charge.
That was pretty good. That's almost that's four and a
Yeah,
half miles per
that's
kilowatt.
that's twice the range of the GM EV1. Well, that's when the EV1 was using the Delphi. I think they were Delphi lead acid batteries.
Yeah. Well, I mean, lithium ion batteries definitely improved the whole
Oh,
EV
huge,
thing.
huge difference.
It
Yep.
was the game changer that probably people didn't expect. But I remember just when laptops went from NIMH to lithium ion, what an improvement that
Oh
was.
yeah. Yep.
And and battery backups and stuff like that. I will say though, I've had battery backups catch on fire. Oh, but I've had all kinds of electronics catch on
I'm
fire
just
over the
looking at
years,
my battery backup below me here,
just to make sure it's not on fire.
just to make
Yeah,
sure it's not on fire. Of course,
yeah,
I think it's lead acid, so it
yeah.
feels like lead acid. It's heavy.
Oh, I
But
used to refurbish and get off-lease products from all kinds of companies that were swapping out their computer stuff. And man, I'll tell you, you'd be surprised what can catch on fire. When you're running a lot of this stuff, and a lot of this stuff was dusty, it had been stored in weird places, and a lot of times, the fires were because the fan in them was all clogged up or whatever. But it just real easy for stuff to do that. All right, back to the UN story. He urged countries to funnel support into low carbon energy. More than 9 in 10 renewable projects globally are now cheaper than fossil fuel alternatives. Solar is about 41% cheaper than the lowest cost fossil fuel alternative. And I assume that the lowest cost fossil fuel alternative is LNG.
probably.
Now, that being said, when I've done studies on solar versus LNG, the price difference is not that much. Okay, it is not 41% cheaper. It might be 10% cheaper. I mean, we're talking going from like $3 a kilowatt, or sorry, 3 cents a kilowatt hour to 2.7 cents a kilowatt
Yeah.
hour.
Is that coming through the pipeline distribution system, or is that because I would think that LNG out of the Persian Gulf would
More
be
expensive?
pretty expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. I was localizing it more on the US.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, um,
Yeah.
but
I would think an LNG tanker, assuming it can clear the Red Sea and the Houthis, and delivering LNG to a port in Greece or Italy somewhere, probably going to be fairly expensive comparatively to LNG that would be piped out of Oklahoma, for example, to Illinois, to Chicago.
yeah, it's interesting because in the world of clean energy, well, so, I mentioned this before, like in India, they're increasing coal burning by 50% between now and 2030. But at the same time, behind China, they're putting in crazy amounts of wind and solar. They're trying to put in every type of power imaginable
Yeah,
as fast as they can.
all of the above strategy.
Yeah, so they're doing a little bit of everything. China is doing essentially the same thing. And this is kind of one of the complaints though we get in the US is like, well, they're still doing all this fossil fuel stuff in those countries too. And it's like, well, they're doing a little bit of everything. In the United States, we pretty much all have electricity right now. But now we keep having, because of AI, we're having greater and greater demands
Yeah.
for our available fuel.
Yeah, I can't remember this. There's a sentence from the UN Secretary General in that article that I thought was what was it? Had something to do with the U.S. because of the current policy of the administration is a setback for us. I don't remember exactly the. Let's see if I can find it here. But I thought it was an interesting comment.
Yeah, I don't know, what that might have been.
Okay. Let's see if I can search and find it here. But go ahead.
Oh, let's see. Fossil fuel interests are so strong in many countries. In the U.S., incentives for clean power have been cut by Donald Trump, who is seeking to boost coal, gas, and oil. In China, new coal-fired power stations are still being planned, despite the country's strong showing on renewables. In March, in India, Narendra Modi celebrated the country's billionth ton of coal production.
Fossil fuels are running out of road. Douglas McIntyre, editor-in-chief.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no,
that's
worries,
not the article
no
I
worries.
wanted.
Yeah, but yeah, so Antonio Guterres says, we are on the cusp of a new era. Fossil fuels are running out of road. The sun is rising on a clean energy age. Yeah, well, I don't think there's any doubt on that. It's just that we're still not at peak. We're still not at peak fossil fuel. You know, we keep saying like, oh, this is the year, or next year, or it's already passed, and it's like it's probably going to be 2030. You know, it's going to be some point in the future still.
Yeah, when I started this, we were always talking about peak oil,
right?
And now what you see more of the discussion is peak demand. That there isn't the demand there, and this is, I think, one of the reasons why the oil company decided, the oil lobby decided to put so much money behind the Republican election campaign, to try to offstave some of that.
Yeah. Anyways,
okay.
let's do a hit piece on Tesla. All right. So this one's from Inc. magazine. The Tesla's number one problem, or the one number explains Elon Musk's and Tesla's biggest problem. Tesla revenues declining, and it's a sign people aren't buying its story anymore. The revenue dropped year over year for the second quarter, 12% from a year ago. And their profit margin has fallen to just over 4%, a number comparable to legacy automakers. The problem is Tesla doesn't just make cars. They do solar, they do battery storage, they do robots, they do hamburger diners. Just the one, right? Just the one. But they do other things. Now, Tesla's pitch has always been that it's a tech company and not a car maker. And it's always traded based on the fact that it is a technology company. And people are betting on it being the next big thing. And, Musk always talks about robots, self-driving robo-taxis. We've got the Tesla Semi coming and other things. But for years, their vehicle sales have grown, the 3 and the Y. I don't know if it was ever really expected that the 3 and the Y would be as popular, as they were. I mean, it's crazy how much, like for the Model Y to become the best-selling car in the world, for a couple of years. I mean, but at some point, it has to fall off a little bit. They refreshed the Model Y, but to me, it still looks the same.
Yeah, they changed the front end a little bit. They gave it more of a Cybertruck kind of a light, bar across the front.
Yeah, I was thinking it had a little bit more of a Hyundai front end. That was kind of how I was looking at when I seen this. Like, it looks more like they, copying Hyundai styling.
You see them around. I saw one just up when I was out walking earlier this week. One drove by. I mean, it's pretty, distinguishing with, like I said, that sort of Cybertruck kind of a front grill look to it.
I'm really kind of interested in seeing how Grok, which is Musk's AI, is really going to integrate with the car. And that's something that's supposed to be happening here in the next few days.
Yeah, I can see the value of that. I mean, you're driving along and you want to know whatever question may come up. You're listening to
Mhm.
some radio commentator or something like that, and you ask Grok, well, what about this thing?
Well, yeah, but
What do you
there's
know?
other things you can tell it as you're driving down the road to add something to your calendar.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of things that you can do talking to an AI that may be different, or you may be able to just have a conversation with it. That's part of it too, is you can be driving the road having a conversation with the AI on some topic. And
yeah. One of the podcasts I listen to on Fridays is the comedian Hal Sparks, and he's got a keen interest in technology. So every Friday he has a gentleman on who that is his sort of specialty, is technology, and they really get into talking, particularly AI, and a lot of the things I've learned and AI systems that I use were things that the guy's name is Rob Glenn. So when Hal Sparks and Rob Glenn get together, they talk about that particular technology, and it's amazing how far it's come along.
No, it is. It is. Anyways, folks, that's all we got for today. I want to thank everybody for coming on, and Bill and I will be back next week.
Thank you, guys.
Folks,
Appreciate it.
Yep. Appreciate all the chats and comments, and everybody have a good day.